3 things in the car world that will keep you poor. And if you go out there chasing your heart, spending all your money and time, at the end of the day, you're going to have adventures. You're not going to have any money, you're not going to have any time, and you will not have moved forward. Well, what's up, people? So today I'm driving around in the Aston Martin, and I wanted to talk about 3 things in the car world that will keep you poor or broke. And I see young people all the time wanting to go racing, wanting to build cars, and wanting to buy really cool cars. Now, there's ways to do both of those things that will help keep you moving forward, or so that basically you don't lose lots of money, and most especially avoiding things that will keep you broke forever. And I think it's important. I want to see you guys be successful, and these are the tips that went for me. So recently I saw a number of things. I had one person give me what he thought I think was a piece of advice on going racing and selling a car to do it. I had somebody reach out to me relating to low budget builds for drag racing with import cars for under $5,000. And I've seen a lot of things with regard to people buying cars, new cars, used cars, classics, exotics, etc. And along the way, I've seen people make the worst mistakes. And I know it feels good for you to do that in the moment, but you're destroying your future and setting yourself back. And I think the key takeaway from this is it takes a long time to earn money, and it only takes a moment to lose it. It's, they say a fool and his money is easily parted. And I'm here today to keep you from being that fool. So let's first talk about buying cars and what's important there. There are basically, in my opinion, 3 types of cars. There's ones that you will lose money on, there's ones you will break even, and there are cars that you can make money on, or at least increase your asset value if you go to trade. Now, the cars we gotta fixate on here are the ones that are going to lose money. If you buy a car that is new or virtually new, one, you're going to lose money to depreciation. Now, that has nothing to do with the physical asset of the car. For instance, you buy a brand new car, you don't drive it, you sit it and park it, 5 years later, it's going to be worth a lot less than what you bought it for. That is depreciation. The asset itself is still the same asset. It still has the same utility, it still has the same value, maybe a little less fashion for the Flexi McFlexingtons out there, but you've lost lots of money. Tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars gone just because you wanted something newer. So on that note, I would like to say to everybody who's doing that, just for a minute, think of it. Maybe you can find something awesome, a little bit older, or even a classic that you could make money on that will appreciate. And all that money that you were theoretically okay with losing just for the sake of fashion before, maybe take that money and do something good with your community. Just food for thought. The other cars, of course, are ones that you will break even on. And those are acceptable if you're gonna drive it for a few years, still probably gonna be worth the same amount that you have in it. Generally speaking, you can't consider basic maintenance items, tire wear, brake wear, timing belts, things like that. But if you can generally break even and not lose money depreciation, have a car you enjoy driving, those are things that are gonna be really good for you to also keep your asset value in the same place. And all the hard work you do, whether those are good investments or working with your hands, whatever, you're gonna keep making money and not going backwards. And then lastly, of course, there are in fact cars that you can make money on. I will say that right now in 2021, this is a very difficult time. We're getting into a lot of inflation because of the ease of getting loans for collector cars and people also wanting to put their money into tangible assets. The car market is largely going up. So there's not a lot of great deals out there. I think this Aston Martin DB7 stick shift V12 car is still one of them. So really pick and choose and buy carefully, make good buying choices, because it's harder to make money than it used to be. So that's the first one. Do not lose money to depreciation. Do not buy cars for that short feel-good gain. Think about where your money's going to be, and just try to hold that urge back. It's the people that make the most money are the ones that can make a small sacrifice for what they want in the now to where they want to be in the future. So keep that in mind. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is car builds, okay? Building cars, modifying cars is a heck of a lot of fun. But the truth of the matter is, virtually all of the money that you put into modding a car, you're not gonna get back. Most cars are gonna be worth about as much as they ever are going to be stock. Now there's some exceptions with that. There are some little upgrades and whatnot for different kinds of cars where if you do it, it's more saleable because you've done things. So for instance, my Lamborghini Gallardo has got catalytic converters on it that are stock. They'll eventually degrade and the funny pulses will actually suck it back into the exhaust and can ruin your engine. So upgrading to a better catalytic converter like a Larini is something that helps the value. But doing things like big wheels or turbo kits, etc., you're gonna lose money on those car builds. You just are. So in the circumstance of something where you're restoring it or race prepping it, you buy it while it's going up. Sometimes things like that, builds, mods, so to speak, you'll be okay. But generally, if you're gonna have fun with a street car and doing that, you're doing it for the sake of fun, and it's very easy to just burn through many thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind. As a general rule of thumb with a car, I generally say if you have to spend more than 10 to 15% of the value of your car to make the car what you want it to be, it's not what you wanted and you need to get a different car. So as an example, let's say this Aston Martin, let's say I bought it for $35,000, got to do some maintenance items, things like that, a bunch of years ago. I would never spend more than $3 grand on this thing to make it what I want. And I haven't. I did tasteful exhaust system, I did adjustable shocks to get the dampening right, I did a shift knob, and I upgraded the radio, and that was a small fraction of that amount of money, and it's a fantastic car. But you're not gonna see me putting giant wheels on it and turbos and all that sort of thing, because you're just gonna lose money. Now, I well and truly realize that's a lot of fun for a lot of people, and if you can truly afford it, that's great. But car parts get very expensive, and keep in mind, there's a lot of things you can do with your money that I think you might find as much or more enjoyment from, or maybe even someday make money from doing. So keep that in mind. I had a young person write me about, hey, why don't you do a $5,000 cheap drag racing import build for YouTube? It'll be great. And I told him no, because when you think about YouTube builds, and when I think about it because I'm a YouTuber, I'm going to make so much money from views, okay? Regardless of what that is. And YouTube does you dirty, to be perfectly honest. You gotta have sponsors, etc. on top of that to make a reasonable living and do it professionally. But the thing that people seem to think, whether it's YouTube or real life with young people, just because a car you were building or working on is cheap doesn't mean it's an acceptable use of your time. Because it takes the same amount of time to work on a $500 car as it does a $5 million Ferrari. Now I realize that me and most of you can't afford a $5 million Ferrari, but the value of your hour, my hour, is exactly the same regardless of what we're doing with it. So keep that in mind, because if you have to pour 500 hours of your work into something, you want that investment of your time to help keep you going forward. So if you're pouring it into a car that you bought for $3,000 and you're putting $2,000 worth of stuff in, and when you're done it might be worth $4 grand, you just worked 500 hours to make $1,000. Wait, that's not even right. You worked 500 hours to lose $1,000. Bad decision making. So do think of that. And even for me with YouTube, there's no magic potion to just get a ton of views. And even if he did get a ton of views, it would have to be worth it. So I still treat it as an investment, as a business, and I would rather be in it for the longer haul to get somewhere than rather just being a flash in the pan. The same thing goes true with cars. Now, the last topic of conversation is racing I want to bring up with you guys. Obviously, I love racing. I've wanted to do it professionally my whole life, but the business of racing is insane, and the only place it really works economically in a sustainable way is if you are at the very top. I'm talking like the top 3 IndyCar teams maybe can make money. And by making money, they're still chasing money from giant sponsors, but they're going to be the only ones that get it. Then the middle teams are kind of out there being predatory, etc., and the smaller ones are probably working with clients and things like that, and being more like a normal shop and doing it. Now, I had a gentleman, very respectful in the business world. He saw recently that I bought a used Lamborghini Gallardo, and I got a smoking deal on it. I could immediately flip the car right now for a $30,000 profit if I wanted to, which is, oh gosh, it's nearly a 35–40% profit for what I bought it for. So really sound investment in terms of the short term. It's a car I really enjoy, likely going to be worth more, so really like where I'm at. And he criticized me in the sense of also me doing a video talking about how much I want to go professional racing and what that matters. And he said to me, and I quote, "Sell the damn Lamborghini and go buy yourself a ride." And he wasn't being derogatory, so I'm just going to say it. And I remember my grandfather once said something to me similarly, but I explained it to my grandfather why that doesn't work. If you sell a tangible asset or you take money of your own just to go do an experience, regardless of what that experience is, when you are finished, you have nothing tangible to show for it. So that experience either A, has to put you in a position of strength and power to go somewhere in the future to make money or get where you need to be that is of the value of what you spent, or it needs to give you talent that is somehow worth that amount of money. And in the experience of me selling a Lamborghini to maybe get 3 racing weekends at a high level, or just 1 if it was Indy Lights, that is a horrific business move, financial move in every way, shape, and form. I may as well just sell the car, take the money, light it on fire. I mean, it would be effectively the same investment. Now, to be fair to that gentleman, he may have said that for some other reasons, in the terms of I was maybe, in his opinion, not doing the right PR or branding message, because fans might see it as conflicting that I want to go racing so much but buy a car that is an expensive investment. Well, the reason is simple. Yes, I want to go racing, but the business and economics have to be right. And if they're not right, I would be even more happy just to go take out my wonderful Top Kart racing go-kart chassis and go race where it's inexpensive. I can easily afford that. I get great racing action out of it. But to get rid of your personal assets or money and go professional racing with no end in sight, nowhere to go, would be the worst economic move you could possibly make. So I just want you all to realize that, because the other thing is, in the last year I spoke to a very young man who it is his dream to race IMSA and sports cars. And he told me all the money he was spending to do this, and this young man spent, I kid you not, $200,000 of his own money. And he's a little bit better, but he's in his early 20s. He's got nothing to show for himself there. There's no opportunities. There are no talent scouts in professional racing, by the way. None. It all comes down to, are you good enough, and does the business things come into play that everybody can make money and move forward and be sustainable? So guys, please realize that the racing world and economics work a certain sort of way. There are no talent scouts. And if you go out there chasing your heart, spending all your money and time, at the end of the day, you're going to have adventures. You're not going to have any money, you're not going to have any time, and you will not have moved forward. So keep those things in mind, guys. I really want to see you guys be successful. These are some basic rules of thumb that have come to me that are just, in my opinion, just basic common sense about business and life, but I think will serve you all well. And I look forward to share more journeys with you all, working with your hands, building cars, buying cars. Maybe we get to go racing, have some great adventures, but please subscribe, click that bell, because I look forward to see you next time. Well, a huge thank you to Crushproof Tubing Company. Since 1949 in Macomb, Ohio, they've been manufacturing custom rubber and plastic tubes for every industry imaginable. No tooling or mold costs, fast and free custom samples, and American-made quality is what sets them apart. But for me, I'm most excited about their exhaust evacuation kit. Different modular pieces and their convoluted custom hoses make it so that I can adapt any car, truck, or motorcycle with an internal combustion engine to get those exhaust gases out of my shop so I can keep working in safety and comfort. But beyond just that, they build a variety of hoses for a custom OEM world. You'll see stretchable drain tubing and bellows, as well as agriculture, medical, and military. So again, guys, Crushproof Tubing Company, crushproof.com, and go down in the description below to see where to get your free samples for industry or your exhaust tubing.